Hello, welcome to Kajabi in 5 minutes. Today, we're going to be talking about SEO in Kajabi. And if you listened to last week's episode, I ended talking about how in the style guide of page settings, you can control your font sizes. And I got onto a little bit of a rant about SEO, and I realized that this is something that I should just talk about. Kajabi gives you the ability to control the basic SEO, kind of the invisible SEO, of your pages pretty easily. So this is done in the edit details area. When you're in the pages place, either website pages or landing pages, and you see the three dots, then you can go into edit details, and this is where it happens. On a landing page, you'll notice that there's page title at the top. And if you go down to the bottom of this edit details area, there's another page title, description, and an image. And if you're in a website page, it looks slightly different. There isn't another title there, and sometimes there may or may not be an image. And so these are some differences to understand. On a landing page, the title at the top is an internal title. And if you don't put a title in the bottom, then it's also an external title. But that title spot in the bottom is intended to be your site title to the world externally. It's what shows up in search results. It's what shows up when you share a link with somebody on a social media platform or a text message or something like that. And it's what shows up in the tab of your browser when you're looking at that page. So at the bottom of the page in the edit details area of a landing page, that title is important. The site title plays a big role in SEO for your page with Google, and that's basically all that matters as far as SEO goes. So you need to know about that, and you should put something there that is very relevant to what the page is about. Google's going to look at that information. Underneath the title, you've got a description box. And that is not something that Google pays attention to anymore, but it is something that can sometimes show up. Sometimes Google just puts their own stuff up there, but it can show up in search results under the title. So that description is more for people who are looking at a whole list of potential pages to look at, helping them understand which to click into to get the answers they want. That description is your chance to stand out and be like, hey, click on this link and not the ones above or below me. But Google doesn't pay attention to that. And sometimes Google overrides what you put by just putting stuff that they've scraped from your page in that spot. The image area, going back to the edit details page, is an image that comes up when you post a link or in a social site, or if you send a message or something. The image will pop up and the page title will be underneath that. And so that's where that image comes into play. Now, on a website page, there is no second title at the bottom in this edit details area. And that's because the top title is your page title. So you don't get to have an internal title and a public title for website pages like you do for landing pages. That's just the way that it is. So that covers a good bit of what Kajabi lets you do for SEO. Now, when you go into your page, SEO is also very important. And last week I talked about how the H1 tag or the header number 1 is very specifically telling Google something. And you don't want to just throw it all over your page. It should be at the top of your page. It should be one of the first things said, and it's big, and it should describe what this page is about. And if you are intentionally targeting some keywords or some search queries, it is a great idea to include some of that keyword bit in your H1 title or your H1 heading on your page. Now, it's really easy in Kajabi to use your different headings as size controls for your font. You know, when you want big font, you use H1. When you want little font, you use H3 or something like that, because that's the way Kajabi lets you control font size. But the H1 tag is specifically telling Google something. So I recommend that while you're setting up your font sizes, in the style guide, you reserve H1 for just using once on a page, and then you limit yourselves to number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for the different sizes that you're going to bounce around between as you're doing your design. So basically, set number 2 to be the same size as number 1, and then use that number 2 as your baseline for different size adjustments. And as you're editing your page, only use your H1 once, and then stick to the other H's as you are styling and putting headings on your page. And that will be another good thing for you to do for the SEO of your page. Now, I'm not going to get into keywords or other kind of technical on-page SEO things, but I will say this. Google wants to give somebody searching for something the best something that they can get. If I'm searching for an answer, Google wants to give them the best answer possible. And so most of your SEO is going to boil down to your content and how good it is and how relevant it is to that question and how easy it is for that person searching to get the answer out of your content on the page. So organizing your content in a very readable and understandable way is super important. Having really good content is super important. And making your content just, again, easy to read and understand is important. So a good heading structure so people can understand the flow of the page and see what is what. Clear and readable fonts is important. And that's going to be the biggest thing that you can do to make your stuff search relevant and friendly. If you can make sure that you're following the best practices by having a good page title, only having one or maybe two H1s throughout your page that are very purposefully pointing to the exact same thing, having a nice social image and description, and just those few mechanical things, get those done and don't really think about them anymore. And then just focus on delivering great content in a very easy to digest way. If you do that, the word will get out. People will come to your pages. Google will recognize that this is where people get the answers that they want. And Google, wanting to be the best at giving people answers, will bring your content up to the forefront in search. So that's what I've got for you today. Today's a little bit of a longer episode. SEO is a big thing to talk about. Thanks for sticking with this. As this is Kajabi in 5 minutes, technically you can still get this episode in 5 minutes or less if you use double time. So how about that? See you next week. Have a great one.